The other day, I was talking to one of our teens who had just passed his driver's test and received his license. And he was recounting in detail all the things that the instructor was asking of him. He told me how he parallel parked, did it perfectly. He told me how he changed lanes and signaled properly and made a right turn and a left turn. And then he told me something that surprised me a little bit. He said, came to the stop sign, and I made a complete stop. And then pulled forward a little bit, stopped again, stopped twice, looked both ways, and then went on, just like I learned in my driver's ed class. And I thought, I've never done that before. In fact, not only have I not stopped twice, most of the time when I go through a stop sign, I'm rolling through the stop sign. And I think I'm not the only one guilty of this. Rolling through the stop sign. It's kind of one of those things that we do. It's like going 1 or 2 miles an hour over the speed limit. It's kind of okay. We're not supposed to do it, but we do it anyways. But it's not just that we ignore stop signs because we think we can get away with it. In this day and age, we have a problem, I think, with stopping in general. Now, once upon a time, there was such a thing called the 40-hour work week, where people worked from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. Then they had Shabbat, they had the weekend. But I've been noticing, and I think I'm not the only one to notice this, that has not been the case lately. In fact, Forbes wrote an article recently about the death of the 40-hour work week. What they argued was that most Americans these days who are working full-time aren't just working more than 40 hours a week, they're working between 50 and 60 hours a week. But they're working also 6 or perhaps even 7 days a week. And when we don't stop, we tend to burn out. When we don't stop and we don't take a break, we're much less creative. And we're also much less productive. Whereas once we were a people stopping on Friday night, as a society we've begun to start rolling through the stop sign. You might recall during the creation story, God creates each day as a work day. The first 6 days, all a work day. And of course, on Shabbat, Shabbat is the special day where we stop. The word in Hebrew, or the root of the word Shabbat, means to cease or to stop. But there's something a little more interesting about the first occurrence of this word Shabbat that happens in Genesis. And that is, it's paired along with another word. And that word is the word for holy, kadosh. Vayikadesh oto kivo shavat mikol malakto. God made Shabbat holy, and here's the kicker, because God stopped from all work. Holiness here isn't about sanctifying. It's not about hallowing or setting apart. It's about stopping. Now, in order to find holiness, I think this text is teaching us, we need to first stop. And think about that for a second. In order to find holiness, we need to stop. And now, by stopping, I don't mean freezing and doing nothing. We each find Shabbat holy, or we each make Shabbat, or stopping holy in our own particular ways. You might have noticed that when you walked in today, there was a Shabbat reflection question that we asked you to write down. And that Shabbat reflection question for us today was, what do you do to make Shabbat special? And the reason we asked this question is that we wanted you to think about how you stop on Shabbat. It's not we come to the stop sign and we just pause again, but we do things to make Shabbat special. We stop in our own way. So I wanted to learn from you how you help stop on Shabbat and make it holy, and I wanted to share some of your answers with you. So the question again, what do you do to make Shabbat special? Take a deep breath. In fact, I want us to each do that and take that advice. Take a deep breath. Share the evening with my TBE community at services. Listen to Jody's beautiful voice. And I think both Jodys there. In fact, this one has a B next to it. Eliminate all thoughts about work. Turn off all of our electronic devices. Coming here to zen out. Shabbat's our chance. In fact, it's an opportunity to hit that pause button and use the time to examine ourselves, reflect on the week, and savor the moments that we have with each other. I'm reminded about something in this week's Torah portion, Titzaveh. As Rabbi Sapphire was telling us earlier, it's a Torah portion that deals a lot with the priestly garments. And amidst the list of things that the priest needs to wear, there's one really interesting thing. Essentially, God tells Moses that the priest is going to have this giant sign almost. It's a giant plate that he's going to be able to hold up. And this plate has an engraving on it with two words in Hebrew. The words are Kadosh Ladonai, often translated as holy before God. But that's not what it means. This is the biblical stop sign. This stop sign that the high priest holds up, it should be read as the following: stop so that you can find holiness. Stop so that you can find God. And this isn't a stop sign that we can just roll through. I wonder, when we see stop signs, do we groan a little bit and say, do I really need to stop? There's no other cars around. It's such a burden to come to a complete stop, let alone stopping twice. But I'm hoping tonight we can begin to think a little bit differently. When we see a stop sign, smile. Consider it a gift that even just for a moment, we can slow down in our busy lives to come to a complete stop. Then, maybe consider stopping even a second time. Look around every which way and slowly accelerate back into the hustle and bustle of your journey. It's Shabbat. Let's make this time we have together holy by pausing, by filling it with the people and things that we find truly important, and then beginning the week refreshed and renewed. Shabbat Shalom.